Hello friends, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. Today I have a tutorial. I promised this in my previous video. I had made this cover using collage paper, and the inside is a sprayed canvas. So previously I had made this cover, and I promised you guys I would make one with... This is all one piece with the spine included, and I promised I would make one using these smaller pieces. So let me show you what that's all about. This collage paper is a very big roll of Tim Holtz collage paper. It's thick, hard to tear even, and this was put on all on in one piece because the collage paper was large enough. Well, I also discovered I knew I had these, but they're smaller sheets, and I had mentioned that I thought it was the same type of collage paper. It just folded sort of like a tissue paper pack that you might get. But when I should have known better because it says 30 pieces and it says it right on there. So when I took it out, it's these 5x7 sheets of collage paper, which I love. I mean, they're so great, but they aren't as thick of paper. It's more like a tissue paper thickness. So, but they're lovely. The patterns are amazing. Look at this one. But you can even see and kind of hear that that's more like tissue paper. So I decided to use those anyway. And I thought it would be fun to experiment with printed canvas. So I have some canvas that had these. Actually, this wasn't purchased canvas at all. This was from the thrift store, and it's a valance. Somebody had a valance made out of this. So I recognized that it was canvas, and it was just this, well, it's actually not canvas. It's probably more like home deck weight, and it had these beautiful flowers. And so I had been planning on making a bag with it, or some patchwork bag or something like that, but I thought it would be great for this project, so I was experimenting with the pattern underneath the collage paper. And so I came up with these pieces, and they're this size because that's what size this was, although I could have collaged it up and made a bigger piece, but I just decided to do single sheets like this. So then I promised you I would show you how to make this into a journal. So here we go. I did decide ahead of time. So if you saw my previous video, which I'll link down below, I used a matte medium gel to adhere the tissue, or the collage paper, sorry, onto the canvas, and just brushed it on and put this collage paper on, and then put more gel matte medium like this on top. So now it's sealed on the top and it's glued onto the fabric on the back. Okay, so then we had these two pieces, and now to make it into a journal cover. So to make it into a journal cover, it's going to have to be one piece. Like this one is one piece, and I could make the spine out of the same floral. I decided to use this cotton. So what I'll be doing is sewing this all into one piece. But before I do that, this is the way I'm going to do it. There are a variety of ways. There is no wrong way to do it, but I'm just going to tell you how I'm going to do it. I am going to adhere some layers to make a thicker journal cover. I did think about just using file folder, which I have here. It's two pieces of file folder glued together, and I was just, up until the last minute, I was going to do it that way. So these are cut the right size and everything, but I decided to make it more of a soft cover. So I've got batting here. I'm going to attach batting. I have an interfacing, and then my inside cover is just going to be a plain canvas like that. So I'm going to adhere these all together. Now I'm lucky. These were just scraps from something, and this is double-sided iron-on. So I'm lucky that way because I can iron this on. What I think I'm going to do is put the batting next to the cover piece, and then this will go inside. So I am going to iron this onto my plain canvas, and then I'm going to iron this batting onto that interfacing. So I'm going to do that for both pieces, and then I'll come on and we'll just glue this on together, and then I'll cut it the right size. So I'll be back with that. Okay, so I attached the batting to the inside cover, and then there's the interfacing in the middle, and that was all iron on because I struck gold. I just happened to have an iron on, but you can glue as well. Just glue it as well, that's fine. Fact is, this has to be glued here because there's no glue sheet or anything I'm going to work with. I'm just going to work with glue, regular old glue. So I'm using Fabrifix on this, and I cut it larger. I cut all the pieces a little larger because I thought I would just trim it all even once I'm all done. So I'm just making sure, what I'm making sure now is that all the layers are going to be covered by the design. Okay, so they are. All right, and this is a heavier fabric, and it also has got this top layer on it, so I'm not going to be too worried about making a mess with the glue as far as having it seep through the fabric. I'm pretty safe, I think, as far as that goes. So I'm gonna sort of just do half at a time here. Make sure it's gonna be totally covering the design. And then probably what I'll do here is smooth it out a little bit. And then just lay it down. And then do the same thing over on the other side. So I'll finish doing that to this. And then I'll do this other one, and I'll meet you back here. I just have the batting for now on to the fabric, and I've decided to put maybe a stiffener or something in after I sew this together. So that's just kind of what I'm figuring is going to work. But I did kind of want the puffiness of the batting, so we'll just glue this on, the batting onto the spine piece. And this, I am going to try to be a little bit more careful on this because of the fabric is just cotton. Okay, all done. Now I'm going to trim around the outside edge of these. This one is cut to the correct size. Okay, so we have our 3 pieces. I'm going to sew them together just like this. Going to overlap about a 1/2 inch on the spine edge here, about a 1/2 inch, and then so I'm going to line it up with a straight edge of some kind. Here I've got my grid pattern on my mat, and I'll make sure that it's all even, and then I'll probably glue baste it on here, and then when that dries I'll take it to the sewing machine. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a glue on each of these edges so it stays in place when I go to sew it. Okay, and then when that dries, I'll sew that right here and right here. And it's not dry, so I'll have to flatten this again, but so right there, and then I'll have a nice book cover. So I'll be back when that is all sewn. I should also note that I'm going to be sewing around the outside edge of the book as well, and I am going to round these corners. So the way I have been doing that, I'm going to see if it's going to work here, is I take my kind of sturdy corner rounder here and just get a rough cut, and then a lot of times I have to come back in with my scissors. So I'll be doing that to these corners here, and then I'll sew around the edge, and I think I'll just sew right over since I've already got my glue and everything, I'll just sew right over the spine piece as well, just sew all the way around, and then make sure I'm sewing down there as well. Like that. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. All right, all sewn down. I think I'll use this as the front. I guess it could only go that way because this is right side up and this is right side up. So it'll go like this. So I did sew around the edge, and I sewed down. I sewed the spine onto the two cover pieces to make it one piece like this, and then the inside looks like this. So this inside cover, front and backs, is going to stay like that canvas color, and then this is the only part that we need to finish off to make the cover complete. So I did cut another piece of this heavy interfacing. I put that down here. Once again, it could be any number of things. Use what you have. It can be, the spine could also be a file folder, and I showed you these pieces that I had planned on using, but I had also already prepared a spine, which I could definitely, I have to cut it down, but I could definitely use it now even. But I just went ahead and decided to make it a softer sort of spine, and so I'm going to use this heavy interfacing. So instead of ironing it on, it is an iron-on kind, I'm going to go ahead and use glue. So I just cut it a little bit shorter, maybe 1/4 inch from top to bottom, a little bit shorter than that, and then also made sure to leave a space on each side of the spine so that it can bend up and down like this as a book cover. Fact is, I'm going to check that again. I might need to trim it down just a little bit more. It wasn't bending quite as smoothly as I wanted it to. Let's try again here. So it does look like about 1/4 inch on each side for this, and mostly because of the thickness of this cover. All right, so you need a little bit more space when it's a thick cover like that. Sometimes you just barely need like a ruler's width of space on each side of the spine, and that's plenty, but in this case it's gonna be thicker, or the space is going to be wider. So I'm just going to use my Fabrifix again and get that nice and glued. Center it side to side, top to bottom. And then I'm going to cover the inside ugly part of the spine here with this piece, and making sure it kind of goes over this space and then over this a little bit, so it's nice and covered up and looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. I did put a little bit of very thin interfacing over this because I have a hard time with glue and it's seeping through the fabric. So I just went ahead and put my interfacing there. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know that I kind of do that on a regular basis. I usually have scraps of interfacing laying around, and so now I'm looking at this and I do want to sew down these edges just for a little bit more decorative look. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, just sew down those edges. Now I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to glue it down. And we only have to be, well, we have to be careful not to put too much glue because I don't want it to seep through. Although it shouldn't because of my interfacing, but it might. The interfacing is a little bit shorter than the actual fabric, so it's got to be a little bit careful. But I was going to say, what I started to say is we only have to be careful of one thing. That would be the spaces that are on each side of the spine. We have to make sure that those are fully adhered to the front side. All right, just gonna kind of smear that a little bit. Get my paper towel here. Okay, the flower is facing up. Make sure I'm facing up on that. I'm gonna center this side to side, top to bottom. I cut this a little bit bigger than or a little bit taller than my book cover because I kind of like that fringed look there, so we will be keeping an eye on that. Okay, make sure that it looks good and straight. I think I got it. Okay, and then what I'll do is take a bone folder. This is just a piece of wood. And then I am going to really press this fabric down where the bend is, where that little gap is that we left on each side of the spine. So there's the one side. You can see it, hopefully you can see it's really pressed down there. Allows the book cover to swing freely. And then same thing on the other side. Just make sure that glue is smack dab down onto the other surface, and then kind of smooth this all out, and that should adhere very nicely to the other surface. So that should do it for this cover. There we go. Give it some bends, and there we go. There's our cover. I hope you like that. It was very fun using a totally different medium. This is different than the regular collage paper, and then putting it on the printed canvas made it look interesting too. So that was lots of fun. I think this is done now. It's ready for signatures. Kind of give you. This is for whole different projects, so they don't fit exactly, but you can see what it will look like a little bit by having the papers kind of stuck in here. So it's going to be lots of fun to finish this up. I love it. I think it's super cute. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is I might take my matte medium, because I've been working with this. This is a raw edge and it's going to be ravelly a little bit, and you'll be able to see the interfacing and the batting and stuff, which is the look I was going for, so that's great. This paper is coming up a little bit on the edge, so what I think I'm going to do is just run some matte medium all along the edge here and just kind of redo the edge, just to kind of keep it just to adhere it together and give it a more smooth look. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but literally just going to dip it into my gel matte medium with a paintbrush and just paint these edges. And I think that'll be the finish, the nice finish to this journal cover. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you liked it. I hope you give it a try. This Tim Holtz collage paper is so fun to work with. It would be lots of fun with tags and different things. I think it's just so pretty and very easy to use with gel matte medium. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Take care, everybody. I hope you have a great day, and we will catch you in the next video. Goodbye.